Yet, on the same flip of the coin, Tom, you made a video stating you have the right and should be allowed to defend yourself. A bit contradictory to say someone else can't do the same. You have not dug deep enough into my position, then, sir. Because, yes, I do have a right to defend myself with a gun, as is protected by the U.S. Constitution and the Second Amendment, unless I am a danger to myself or somebody else. And therein lies the rub. I am not one of these people who say, without question, no exceptions, if you're an American, you get to own a gun. I don't believe that for 1 minute. I believe if you are a threat to yourself or others, you should not be allowed to own a gun. I believe annual mental health checks should be done to anybody who owns a gun in this country, and those annual mental health checks should be made available on your background check. And if you have a change in mental health status, you should not be allowed to own a gun. There are caveats to me being able to protect myself with a gun, and that is that I'm not going to take my gun out, go to Burger King, and shoot the place up. No offense towards Burger King. So there are caveats to my position. And when you see that video, what that gentleman is saying is, if you are the kind of person who doesn't want to have common sense gun regulation, gun reform, because you believe it will personally inhibit your ability to own a gun, then you're one of those people that shouldn't own a gun. The bottom line to background checks is this, right? If you don't like, not just background checks, but gun legislation as a whole, but let's just use background checks for a moment. If you don't like the fact that there are background checks, that makes me question what you are trying to hide from a background check. And if you tell me I don't know that I could pass a background check, then maybe you shouldn't own a gun. If I can't pass a background check, maybe I shouldn't own a gun. If one of my kids can't pass a background check, maybe they shouldn't own a gun. So forth and so on and so forth and so on. And that's all that gentleman in that video was saying was, if you're the kind of person that looks at any kind of common sense gun legislation and says that's going to personally inhibit me from owning a gun, then you're exactly the reason why we need that common sense gun legislation. If any of that is going to prohibit you from owning a gun, then there's something about you in your life that tells us you shouldn't own a gun. If you could pass a background check, you should have absolutely no worries about expanding background checks to all sales, including person to person. You shouldn't have anything to worry about. If you can pass a mental health evaluation, you shouldn't have anything to worry about. Legislators saying, hey, in order to own a gun, you should pass a mental health legislation. If you can continue to pass annual ongoing training on your weapon, then you shouldn't have any worry if a legislator says, hey, we want to make that a condition of owning a gun. We're going to pick up the cost. It's not going to cost you anything, but once a year, you need to show that you are still up on your weaponry. If you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't own a gun. That's all he's saying. So yes, I did make a video saying I have a right to defend myself, and I stand by that. Unless I get to a point where I shouldn't own a gun. Then it would be my hope that the people around me and the legal entities that be in my state would go, hey, we need to take these guns from him because he's no longer somebody that should own a gun.